The snow may be falling as we release this episode, but we're gearing up for golfing in Great Falls. Everything you need to know to hit the links coming up on this episode of We're No Damn Experts.
Best damn podcast, the best damn town. You want to get up, get ready to get down. With its big wide sky and the wild river Thames, if you want to go, we can take you there to Great Falls, Montana.
Welcome to the greatest damn town in Montana, Great Falls. I'm Rebecca Ingham.
I'm Shannon Newth.
And we're No Damn Experts. Today, Shannon, in the studio, we have a man I have never met before.
Yeah, I've heard of him. This is my first time, I think, meeting him in person. Yeah.
What I'm really excited about is we've done all the disclaimers and all the intro, and he was on board with it all. And he is ready to share everything he knows about golf.
His facial expression says otherwise.
Jeff, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
So we've got a project coming up in the office. I don't know when this episode's going to end, the timing of it. So I prompted Callie Jean, our colleague, about what I needed done. And I said, we might be done in time. I said, the podcast is about golf, so it should be like 10, 15 minutes. And she's like, yeah, that sounds about right.
And then
we know nothing.
Well,
I know nothing.
Okay. I was like, I kind of know things about golf. I'll share. But then after she says that, you proceed to tell Callie multiple stories about golf. So I was like, no, this is not going to be a short episode.
So Jeff, tell us how long you've been in Great Falls.
Just starting my 5th year here. I've been at the course four straight seasons and just starting number 5 here tomorrow.
Wow.
Tomorrow is your first official day of your 5.
Within a couple days. I'm
Spring
just saying
so
springtime.
Yeah.
So I came up here in 2019 whenever my company was hired to manage the city golf courses.
Coursco.
Yep, Coursco.
You're with Coursco then.
Yep.
Oh, look at this. We're learning stuff already.
I just realized and learned that 2019 was 5 years ago almost.
Yeah.
That's crazy. Anyway.
So have you been within the golf world? Your career, is that what you do is golf management?
Yeah, I've been in the industry for 25,
wow.
20, just about 27 years now.
So just tell us in general and the listeners, like when I think of golfing, I just think about getting the cart and going out and golfing. There's obviously more to golfing than just that component. So what do you do as part of your role? Because I'm guessing you just don't get to golf all day.
In this position, no, I don't.
Dang it.
In other positions you've had in the past, you do?
Yeah, and we can get into that in a little bit. My staff always, they look at me after a while and they're like, you have a lot of stories. And I do. After 27 years in the industry, I probably have more stories than most people in my position do. So I manage Eagle Falls in Anaconda Hills here in town, both of the city properties.
Public courses.
Both public courses, municipal courses here in town. There's 4 courses. You have R2, Eagle Falls and Anaconda, and then you have Meadowlark, which is a private club, and then Hickory Swings, which is an executive course. So 4 courses in town. And all 4 of our properties do a phenomenal job. Billy over at Hickory does a great job. The conditions over there are fantastic. Scott over at Meadowlark running the pro shop. I mean, they do a great job. And we all have a very good working relationship, and it fits very well in the community. To answer your question about what do we do for golf, and there's a lot there. It's
mowing the lawn.
Yeah. We go out there and we just cut the grass,
Make sure the water's running.
Yeah, on occasion, we did that stuff. What we always look for those is, and I tell everybody, when you come out, we just want you to have fun.
Yeah.
And have a good time and not take the game too seriously. At the amateur level.
That's hard for some of us to not get too competitive.
And being competitive is fine at certain times.
I'm trying to learn as I get older in life. Like I can be competitive, but I need to like chill out about it because my ability level never matches my competitive level, so it doesn't go well.
So Shannon, like, are you an avid golfer? Like,
I love golf. I grew up. I'll tell a story. I grew up in a golf family,
okay.
and I can share more as we go along. That doesn't mean by any means I'm good at golf, and this is where it's like, this is the problem.
So you have the premise, like when you go out on a golf course,
Yeah.
like you know how to hit the ball, and
Yeah,
you know
which
how
makes it
things-
worse because I can't hit it how I know I should be hitting it.
My
Anyway.
approach to golf 100% is fun. I'm awful.
But if you're out there and you're laughing, that's what's
Yeah.
that's what's important. You know, I mean, I know people like Shannon that come in there are very competitive and they get down on themselves and beat themselves up and they want to do better and they think they can do better and that's great. There's a time for serious competition and there's a time to go out there and laugh and have fun. Honestly, 95% of the time you should be out there laughing and having fun.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's also interesting when those two worlds meet on the golf course.
Especially if you're paired up with somebody else that's opposite.
Usually
go
for
so
me,
well.
it's like people are showing up behind me and they're like,
Can we play through, please?
did you even hit the ball? I'm like, yeah, I'm still
right
looking
there,
for it.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I didn't go that far. It shouldn't be that hard to find, but there we go. So people go out, they golf. Let's say I want to get better. Or let's say a family shows up and they're like, we're going to golf, but Steve over here, no, he's really bad at it. He needs a few lessons or pointers before we go. Do you get that at the golf course or do you have to do that before you travel anywhere?
Yes and no.
Oh, great.
It's kind of a vague question.
Great.
Yeah, we do offer lessons.
Okay.
I teach, but I've got a couple guys on staff who are primarily my instructors that we have. And they're available for private lessons, for group lessons, all of our junior camps and everything like that. But we've had some customers that have come in and said, you know, hey, I've never done this before. And I've gone out and talked with them for a couple minutes and kind of give them a few pointers and talking to the group and saying, you know, if this person's struggling out there, it's okay to not play the entire hole. It's okay to take a swing at a ball once or twice and miss it, and then pick it up, move it down the fairway with the other group, and then drop and play more of a scramble format. Especially chipping and putting, you want to be, you know, do those things there. So yeah, I've had those conversations in my career and doing those things, and it's people get so caught up in that they've got to be able to tee off and hit the ball and then continuously hit it all the way to the hole and then hole out, which obviously is the goal of the game. But
what Shannon's doing.
yeah,
Not what I'm doing.
Not well, but you know.
but it can become extremely frustrating for that person whenever they're not moving the ball forward, and then it does slow down the pace of play, and there's some ramifications to that. But yeah, we will encourage people to, you know, play a little bit of a scramble. Go ahead and pick up your ball. You know, max out at 8 or 7 or whatever it is. But yeah, so if somebody comes and has those questions, we're fully equipped to handle
good
that.
deal.
Have you seen/heard the Robin Williams take on the sport of golf?
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Have you?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's hilarious. Well, you just think, because in those moments when I'm getting real frustrated, I'm like, I'm trying to hit this tiny ball with the stick way over there into a little hole. Like, it's amazing people can do that in a few strokes. Just saying.
Did you play professionally?
No.
Just a avid player? Or do you even play? Like, there's some people who know there's some people who know how to play but don't play very often, or can manage a golf course but don't play, I would assume. I'm just making stuff up.
No, you're right about that. I've known guys in my career who play very little golf, and they weren't that good, but they were great at managing. They were great at developing staff and managing a business, and that's a good portion of what my role is you know, managing a business like any other business. But I do try to play as much as I can.
Okay.
I've had positions. I was head professional at a property in Florida, and how do I put this? So my
It's
assistant,
Florida, you can say whatever you want.
yeah, you know, Florida's kind of a strange place. Anyways, I had my assistant and I in the summertime, we would close the pro shop at 5, and we would go out and we would play 2, 3, 4 holes or 9 holes or 18 or whatever we felt like doing that evening. And but we'd always play the front nine because the back nine kind of went through the community.
Oh.
And in our positions, it doesn't matter where you're on the golf course, somebody sees you, they're going to watch you. So we would always just play the front nine.
Mm-hmm.
And so and we were doing this probably 4 nights a week.
Okay.
We would go out.
Oh, wow.
So the one day the president and vice president of the board of directors comes in the office, and John, the vice president, he's like, do you even play any golf? I said, well, I get out every once in a while. And he goes, well, we never see you out there. I said, well, I mean, we go out, we'll play a couple holes on the front, but a little bit. And he's like, we think you should be playing with all of the members that we have here and playing in the various groups. And, the men's group played a couple days a week and the ladies group, and they had this other group that would play. And he's like, we want you to, be out there with them, and we want you to consider this like to be part of your job.
Ooh.
Okay.
So
they walked out. They walked out, and Blake looks at me and he goes, I think they just told you have to play more golf. And I was like, yeah.
That's what I heard, yeah.
So that turned into playing, honestly, 12 to 13 rounds a week.
Oh, wow.
So
is that too much golf?
Yes and no. For a couple months out of the year, that was fun. But then you do hit a period where you got to just shut it down and not touch a club for a while.
Yeah.
But when you're putting that much time in on a golf course, I mean, I was down to, I think I was a 1.5 at one point handicap.
I don't know what that means. Just for anyone who cares. I don't know what that means.
I pretend I know what it means, but I have no idea what my handicap would be, so I don't know either, really.
What is a handicap?
So a handicap is, well, let's put it this way, in real basic terms, a handicap exists so that you and I can play against each other and gamble.
Okay.
It's really what a handicap is for.
Yeah.
If you're an 18 handicap and I'm a 0, when we go out and we play, every hole you would get a stroke. So if you make a 5 and I make a 4, we would tie on that hole.
Oh.
And so, but a handicap is, it's not based on relation to par. It's based on relation to the course rating. There's a formula. If you go on the USGA's website, you can learn what that formula is. It takes 10 rounds. Actually, nowadays, it takes 5 rounds to establish a basic handicap. And then an actual official handicap is when you have 20 rounds. And it takes the 10 best scores you've had over those most 20 recent rounds, and then goes through a calculation on that.
Shannon, I'm going to need you to calculate your handicap for the next podcast episode so we can discuss it.
I got to get 20 rounds in before next week.
You just said you golfed. You could just average all 20 rounds you've ever done.
See, now if you come into the pro shop,
yeah,
and you can get a handicap through the pro shop.
Oh, okay.
And the USGA just raised their fees, so it's a
annual
fee. It's an annual fee of $25.
Oh, that's not bad. Okay.
But what that allows you to do is either go through your phone into an app, or when you're in the pro shop, whenever you get done playing, you come into the shop and we have a computer in there, and you just go in and you pull up your account and put your score in. And then hit enter and walk away.
Oh, that's nice. That makes that easy.
And then
that's pretty good.
Then you can always go in and see what your handicap is. Now, for the casual player who never plays in any tournaments, it's more of an ego thing to know what your handicap is.
Yeah.
But if you play in events like some events that we have coming up, we have a 2-man match play tournament coming up, or if you play in the Great Falls Open in September, which we do have a ladies division. You need a handicap to play in those.
Oh, okay.
So, or if you're going to play in any of the MSGA, Montana State Golf Association events, any of their amateur tournaments, or even the USGA events, you would need an established handicap, a verified handicap.
Okay.
But if you're not going to play in those,
there's not really a reason to have that.
No, not really. But it is a nice way of seeing where you are right now, and then seeing your progress.
Oh, that's a good
good way to judge.
Mm-hmm.
So for those of us that aren't big golfers but enjoy getting out and having a good time, how do you judge a golf course? Because there are 4 in town. To me, I pick them by the least amount of people that will be there when I'm going to golf, so that less people are irritated by my inability to play the sport. So, like, my first time golfing, we went out to Fairfield late in the afternoon, so no one was around.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Didn't frustrate anybody. Laughed the entire time.
Yeah.
Why would you golf other golf courses, or what do you look for? What should people look for in picking a golf course to golf at?
That's a
I know.
yeah. I've honestly I've never
Wheels
been
are
asked that
turning.
question before.
Wow.
See, I come up with all the questions
Yeah.
nobody ever thinks to think about.
All right, so are you asking
Like there's
what do I look for, or are you asking for
what people should.
people in general should look for?
Yeah. Like what makes our courses so much fun to do versus another course? Because I assume, and I've heard this, people who golf, they go all over and they golf everywhere. Why? Why are they picking all these different places
Like,
to go?
why mix it up? Why try different courses?
Or why are they picking the ones they pick?
So that's again a very, very hard question to answer. If you're coming here to town and you're looking for a place to play, obviously Meadowlark, unless you have a friend because it's a private club,
Right.
You're going to look at one of the 3 other courses that we're going to have, and really what you're looking for from a golfer standpoint is something where the conditions are well known. Golfers do tend to share information as far as the quality of your greens.
Okay.
And honestly, the quality of the greens at Eagle Falls and Anaconda and Hickory are phenomenal. They're great. Meadowlark, I mean, they're fantastic as well. But yeah, if you're traveling, I mean, you want to do a little bit of research and maybe go onto some websites like Golf Now and some other things and look for some ratings. Try to get a feeling, just like if you were going out to dinner, looking for a restaurant that you've never been to before. But you're looking for good conditions. You're looking for some holes that are challenging.
Okay.
You might look at the length of the golf course to give you an idea. Depending on your skill level, you're looking for something that's, a little bit longer than this other course down the street. And kind of going off the reputation and going from there. Now, once you play it, and we've all played courses that you walk away from that say, I didn't really enjoy it.
Okay.
But we've all played courses that we've walked away from and said, what, the conditions weren't, world class, but what a fun time. And I think a lot of that repeat business comes, part of it's from the golf course and part of it's from the conditions of the turf. But I think a large portion of that is the experience that you have in the shops with the staff, the experience you have with the food and beverage staff and that intermingling. And I think we do a fantastic job of that. It's that's what gets people coming back. And I've played. My girlfriend gets really annoyed because I've got a lot of stories, and I've been privileged to play a lot of courses that a normal person doesn't get to play, and I've had some great experiences at some of those, and I've had miserable experiences at some of those with the interactions with the staff, and that's what always kept me coming back. Since we're just having a casual conversation, I'll share.
Yeah, please.
There was a course in Florida. So the course
Florida
that,
again, yeah.
So I've run properties in
Florida, Montana.
let me think here. 1, 2, 3. I think 8 or 9 different states now.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So I've
A little
I've
bit
been
of a golf
Yeah.
expert.
little bit. I've seen properties from low end to high end private, and I've worked at all of those. So yeah, my background is pretty diverse.
Where did you come from just prior to?
Baton Rouge.
Oh, okay.
Oh.
Yeah. Mixing it up.
There's a course called Copper Mill, actually in the town of Zachary, just outside of Baton Rouge. Phenomenal golf course. Struck with some economic struggles that they've had. When it opened, it was the number one course in the state.
Oh, wow.
The layout was phenomenal, and right now they're actually going through a major greens renovation. They've actually ripped the entire course up and they're redoing it.
Oh, my gosh. It's a project.
So it'll be exciting to see, and my friend Patrick is still managing the course, so it'll be exciting to see how that
Yeah.
is.
Shout out to Patrick.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Should be listening.
Have you been, Florida, Louisiana, have you been to courses in kind of the Northwest aside from Montana?
So let's see if we
Or
can run through
states, I
the
should
That's
through the career.
Washington.
Yeah.
Started my career in Arizona.
Okay.
moved to New Jersey and worked at an off-course retail place for a while.
Oh, wow.
And then got back to a green grass facility on Staten Island in New York,
Oh, fun.
where I cut my teeth as an assistant.
Yeah.
And then I got my first GM job at Lake Tahoe Golf Course
Wow.
in South Lake,
Yeah.
which is under 640 inches of snow right now.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're
We're
bare.
opening sooner
Yeah.
than them. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that I missed those snowstorms.
Yeah.
It's the second snowiest year on record for that area.
Wow.
So I was in Tahoe and moved to Pennsylvania. I grew up in Pennsylvania, just outside of Pittsburgh.
Okay.
Was at a course east of Pittsburgh for a little while, and then got recruited by another management company. Used to be called Billy Casper Golf, and then they've since been bought out. So I got recruited to go to Florida, and while I was with that company, I managed a couple different courses in Florida for them. And then ended up got recruited to be at a high-end property in Ohio, and straightened out their operation and their training programs, and did everything that the owner wanted me to do. And then got recruited to come back to Billy Casper and ended up in Louisiana. And then ended up getting recruited by Courseco
Okay.
through friends of saying, hey, there's an opportunity to, how do you feel about Montana?
Yeah.
And so met with Mike, the president of the company, and had a fantastic experience talking with him. And so that's what brought me here to Montana.
Wow.
Just the things that our company does, Courseco, is so different than any other management company I've worked for. I've worked for American Golf. I've worked for Billy Casper Golf, part of Troon, Kitson Partners in Florida. And they all do a fantastic job, but what we do at Courseco is so different, and that's what attracted me to want to come here.
Did you visit Great Falls before you took the job, or did you just sign on the line and show up?
Ooh.
So I've been to Montana before.
Okay.
I've been elk hunting out in Augusta.
Okay.
When I was in California, I came up here with a buddy of mine, and so like a lot of people, always attracted to want to come here.
Yeah.
But I'd never been to Great Falls.
Okay.
And I flew up here and spent the day with Mike. So Mike, the president and CEO of the company, flew out here to interview me personally. I mean, I had some interviews with some other staff over the phone, but that meant a lot to me that the president was interested in flying because the corporate office is in California. Mike came all the way up here. We met with Steve,
Yeah.
Parks and Rec director. Met with Greg Doyne, city manager, and had some great conversations. Then Mike and I went out to dinner and had a great meal. He put on the full court press trying to recruit me. And I was already committed. I was like, yeah, I'm in. But the harder he pushed, we just had this conversation last week. I was at the corporate office for some meetings, and Mike was telling a person who just started with the company, a little bit about this. And I told Mike, I said, the harder he pushed to recruit me to be here, the more I was just like, no.
Yeah. It's the opposite reaction.
What's going on?
Yeah.
I've already said yes, and now they keep going.
No, I said things I didn't say yes at that point. So I kept telling him, I'm like 95% there. And he's like, what's it going to take you to get to 100? And I was like, well, I want to sleep on it.
Yeah.
So I got off the next morning and jumped on a plane and flew to Baton Rouge, or actually flew to New Orleans. And as we landed and we were taxiing down the runway, I sent Mike a text. I said, send me the paperwork.
Yeah.
Totally off the subject of golf and my career, but that's kind of how it all happened.
Yeah.
I did tell Mike, though, in full honesty and transparency, I told Mike, I said, I'll give you 2 years.
Yeah.
I'll give you 2 years of Great Falls, and then I want to explore opportunities within the company. After a year and a half, Mike said, so what are you thinking? Because we had some opportunities in the company. And I looked at Mike and I said, I will always be your guy in Montana. I said, I'm not leaving Great Falls.
Yeah.
Oh.
So-
Here you are, starting
That's
year
what
5.
happens.
Yeah.
So
Sucks you in.
That's how I'm here. I've taken on some projects that the company's asked me to do on a corporate level. But my role is here managing the 2 properties in Great Falls. I've got my hands full with everything we have here.
What's your vision for the golf courses here? I mean, you're saying things that I know nothing about, like redoing the greens and like, do you relay out golf courses? Do you rebuild? Do you add holes? Do you change holes? Like, what's your vision?
So the vision for the 2 properties here is constant improvement. When we got hired to take over the properties, there was some great infrastructure already in place.
Okay.
But the plan as far as the turf management, the turf plan, wasn't as solid as it should have been. The direction the golf courses was going, the relationship that we had with some of the clubs and our regulars needed some improvement. And the management staff that was in here before we got here did a great job. But for various reasons, I think their hands were tied a little bit. And so we came in, and the way the management agreement works is my company gets a fee to manage the courses.
Yeah.
Any extra profit or loss, which we haven't had, but any extra profit, that 100% goes to the city. A lot of people think that my company, that we lease the property, and we don't. In this situation here, we just get paid a set fee every month, and we manage everything from HR to turf programs, and we do all of that. But the vision that we have for the properties is continuous improvement. So there's improvement can be measured either through the quality of service, the quality of products that you have, the conditions of the golf course itself. And when you talk about improving conditions on a golf course, there's two ways of doing it. You either throw a ton of money at it and get it done real quick, such as the property Copper Mill. They're redoing all their greens. They literally came in and stripped all the sod off of the greens, and they're regrassing it. But it's a southern course, so you can sprig it with Bermuda grass, and it takes like 3 months, and it grows back.
Yeah, that's true. That's
totally
a more
different
year-round situation
than up here.
Yeah.
Well, Bermuda just grows so different than the bent and the poa that we have here in northern climates.
Learning all about the types of grass, too.
There's a lot of different varieties. And at any point, whenever I do throw out terms that you're not familiar with, just raise your hand.
Jeff, I'd just be constantly raising my hand. So for some,
we're just
gonna keep going. Like, there's obviously he knows a lot about golf. There's different kinds of grasses on the field. So we just keep going. It won't matter to me what kind of grass it is. It's not grass. We've watched golf on TV. My husband has entered that stage of his life. And the commentary will be like, the greens are really fast today. And Robert goes to me, what's that mean? I'm like, why would I know? Obviously, it just means the ball's rolling faster. I don't know why, and I don't know how. And I'm not about to try and explain it to you, honey. And he goes, wow, those greens do look fast. We are the biggest morons when it comes to golf.
So Jeff, do you want to tell her what it means?
All right, so there is a way of measuring the speed of a green. In
miles per hour?
No, it's measured in feet.
Okay.
So, and before I teach you that, I have a disclaimer here that a lot of people say they want to play really fast greens, because the ball, it is a challenge, especially if you have a little bit of a downhill putt, and there's a lot to it. But I've always been a proponent, and a lot of us in the industry are a proponent of, you want a ball that's rolling smooth. So if it's rolling across a green and it's bouncing up and down, it's going to bounce left or right, and you can miss putts. Usually in northern climates in the springtime, you have those conditions because nothing's growing right now. Then when it does start growing, I mean, it's hard to get the right height and everything like that. People talk about, well, just lower the height of the cut, and the greens will roll faster. And that's a very small part of what it takes to make a green fast. And
imagine the type of grass change. Does it have something to do with that,
to an extent, and then also the time of day.
Yeah.
We can go down that rabbit hole here in a second. So going back to how you measure the speed of a green. So there's a device called the stimp meter, which was invented at Oakmont, which is 10 miles from where I grew up.
Okay.
Oakmont is probably one of the most historic courses in the country. They've hosted 13 USGA championships.
Oh, wow.
I think 7 or 8 U.S. Opens, a handful of women's opens, 1 or 2 PGA championships back in the day. It's always in the top 5 courses in the world. Phenomenal place, and I've been privileged enough to play there. Anyways, they had a guy there. His last name was Stimp,
Oh,
This makes
So
sense. Yeah.
so what happened
That's
was
usually what
at
happens.
Oakmont, yeah. So at Oakmont, they were having a discussion about trying to find a way to calculate the speed of the greens, because in the world of golf, Oakmont. How do I put this? Because you guys don't have a lot of experience in golf.
Well, someone listen might.
Well, I hope so. So Oakmont is. They're well known for that. The USGA could call up Oakmont and say, hey, I know we're supposed to have the U.S. Open at this other course, in 2 weeks, but they got flooded out. And can we hold it at Oakmont? Oakmont is always in U.S. Open conditions.
Oh,
That's impressive.
It's a phenomenal place. So, but their greens are extremely fast and extremely sloped. So they want to come up with a way of measuring this. So the way you measure a green is you have a device that's a metal rod that's 3 feet long. It's like a Hot Wheels track,
oh,
right? But it's not flexible. It's not flexible. It's a solid piece of aluminum or steel. So at one end there's a slot that will hold a golf ball, and you put this device on the ground and you slowly you put the ball in the slot and you slowly raise it up until gravity takes over and the ball rolls off of the track, and then goes to the end of the track and rolls out across the grass. And so you find a flat place on the green and you do it 3 times one direction and you measure that. So let's say, it's all 3 measurements come out to 10 feet. Then you go the opposite way and you roll it back the other direction.
okay.
And then you do three measurements there and take the average of that. And then you take those 2 averages and put those together and then, divide that by 2. And that's how you determine the speed of your green.
Huh.
So that's something that we do at our courses on a regular basis. And for a couple of reasons. One, we want to see that, the goal of the speed of the greens that we have, that we're meeting those. But we'll also go out and measure speed on 3 or 4 different greens to make sure that the consistency from one green to the other is next. And if you're within a half a foot, that's pretty much the industry standard.
Oh, wow.
So you could be rolling at a 10-foot on one green and a 9.5 on another. And
that's considered
that's
consistent?
pretty consistent. But you get into some situations where people are like, oh, these greens are slow. And it's like, well, yeah, because you've had uphill putts all day.
Yeah.
And they are going to feel a little bit slower.
Yeah.
Or, Anaconda, we always hear at Anaconda the greens on the back 9 are slower than the front 9. And that's not true, because we do measure that consistency.
You
He
don't
has
know what you're
measurements
talking
to
about,
prove it.
people.
Yeah.
But there's a perception.
Yeah.
And Keith, my superintendent, him and I, we've had some big discussions about this, and we've gone out and we've checked, and we're like, no, the speeds are the same, but there's a perception that people have. And so the greens at Anaconda on the front 9 are the original greens. They're really small and tiny. They were built by as part of the smelter plant.
Yep.
And that 9 holes, it was built for the employees. The greens there were originally actually sand and oil. They weren't grass.
Oh.
So
That sounds like that'd be very
Sounds real
difficult to play.
challenging. Yeah.
there's a few
Sand and
courses.
oil.
There's a few courses in the world that still do that.
Really?
When you go onto a green, there's a rake there, and you smooth everything
Yeah.
out, and it's compacted sand. And
Interesting.
and then that wasn't that uncommon. 100 years ago, you had courses like that. But anyways, the greens on the front side are very small. As far as the square footage is very small, and they're heavily sloped. Like number 7 is insane on how it was sloped. But back in the day when it was built, the equipment that you had to maintain it, could the height of the cut wasn't as high, so the balls the speed wasn't that much, so it was fine. But anyways, because they're heavily sloped and they're very small, they seem like they're very fast. When you get on the back 9, which is only 20-some years old now, those greens are 3 times the size, and even though there's some slope to them, they're kind of flatter. But you can have a putt on the back 9 that's 80 feet. On the front 9, the longest putt you're going to have is 20, maybe
It's a
30.
big difference. Yeah.
So there's that perception that the greens are rolling slower because it's a longer
It's just
putt.
the size. Yeah.
Huh.
And so Anaconda Hills, let's describe for people, and I'll put in our show notes links so people can see the different courses. But Eagle Falls and Anaconda Hills are very opposite sides of the river, and Anaconda Hills is I used to run it as a cross-country course in high school. It's very hilly. There's a lot, especially the front nine there. I'm thinking of 7 probably that kind of drops around by that little pond. Yeah, so just describe the differences in the courses, so maybe what people can plan which one they want to kind of look into.
Oh, or do both 2 days.
Yeah, or do both, obviously. Yes.
Always recommend playing both. There is the conditions of the turf at both places is very similar, and it's something that Keith and I have worked very hard on, and we think that the greens actually at Anaconda are probably a little bit faster than Eagle, but they're both the greens are extremely healthy and they're very good. So Eagle Falls is considered more of a championship type caliber course because it's a lot longer than it's a little bit longer than Anaconda. The greens complexes, there's a lot more slope. There's a lot more to Eagle, especially on 12 or 13 of the holes that were remodeled years ago. So from a player standpoint and a tournament standpoint, I think Eagle Falls, has that edge. And at that property, we do have a tap room. There's food and beverage operations, which we
now
don't.
You're speaking Rebecca's language.
Now we got.
I perked up.
She did. She's like, wait, what?
Literally tap room? What?
I know what those words mean.
Yeah.
You don't have to define that for me.
But I think the more challenging golf course is Anaconda. The front nine is extremely narrow. It's 100.
Yeah, I've ended up on the fairways I wasn't supposed to be on.
The property's around 100 years old. The fairways are extremely tight, very tree lined. The greens are, in the world of golf, considered like postage stamp size. They're very, very small, and they have a ton of slope. And then, as we said, 20 plus years ago, I'd have to look at the dates, but additional 9 holes was added, and the back 9 is completely different than the front. It's wide open. There's very few trees. It's extremely hilly, but it's more of a kind of a links type feel because of the tall grasses lining the fairways and everything. And it's a totally different experience. When you play that course, it's like you play the front nine, you're like, all right, this is hard.
Yeah.
And then you get on the back nine. Not that it's easy, but it's
just different.
It's totally different.
Yeah.
But that's what happens whenever you add an additional 9 holes. And it also has to deal with the property that you have and the terrain and everything to it. But that original 9 holes at Anaconda, you got to keep in mind, it's when that was built was the equipment the equipment to maintain turf was totally different than what we have now. The equipment used to play the game, the ball didn't travel as far. So even though you could still hit driver off the hole, you still had longer irons coming into the greens. And so courses back then were considerably shorter. So I think from a player standpoint, I think Anaconda is way more of a challenge.
Well, if you feel good about the front 9, just hold on because the back 9's going to feel a lot different for you too.
Well, from a competitive standpoint, if you can play the front 9 at a pretty reasonable score, you should be able to put up a good number. Once you get on the backside. I think the front 9 is way harder than the back, but it's still. I mean, Anaconda is a very unique property, and it's a lot of fun. We have people that are extremely loyal to. They will only play Anaconda. They won't play Eagle. We have people who only play Eagle and won't play Anaconda. But we have a lot of people that play both. And from a golfer standpoint, you like to have that variety. Playing the same course every day can get old.
Yeah.
It's just easier for me to remember where the holes are. Like, I'm always looking at the map going, I think that's the next hole. I have no idea where we're headed.
It's confusing. Yeah. Well, in Anaconda, there's the one, and I'm not sure what the whole number is just because I don't.
You need to play
I just
more.
play the course, and I don't really pay that much attention to which hole I'm on, honestly. But there's one where you shoot, or when you drive, it basically, if you hit it well, disappears down, and then there's the big old building.
The barn?
The barn that I'm sure I've hit with my ball before, and then that you have to ring the bell when you're done with the hole so people know you're off the green.
So that's number 5 at Anaconda. It's a for listeners out there, it's 290
of
yards,
rules.
280 yards, something like that. It's a blind tee shot.
Yeah.
And it's a little bit of a dog leg to the right. It is definitely reachable. Because it's reachable, everybody in the world tries to hit driver there.
That might not be
Which
the
is
smartest play.
Which is not the smartest play.
Yeah.
Because 10 feet to the right of the green is out of bounds. You have the old barn.
I've lost a lot of balls over the years on that
And,
hole.
and I think everybody has. That barn, interestingly if you weren't aware, that's actually a historic property. That was the original fire station for Black Eagle.
Yeah.
Oh, is that what it was? I didn't know that.
And here you are defacing that historic asset with your
Not
ball.
on purpose.
Well, it's definitely not on purpose. There is a group out there who's exploring possibly renovating that building and restoring it.
So the ball will bounce back and hit you.
Yeah.
Perfect. Some rubber on there.
Now, for anybody who's listening, the proper way of playing that hole is actually to hit an iron to the 150-yard pole.
And then you can see where you're going and
then
drop
play
down.
it in from there. For every time that a guy will drive a ball and hit that green and maybe make an eagle, I did play with a guy one time who had a hole-in-one.
On
that,
5?
On 5.
Oh, my gosh.
The first year of the Great Falls Open, actually, I was in a group with a guy who did that.
Oh, my gosh. Did he hit it on the top and it rolled down, or did he make the green and it just rolled?
You can't tell because you can't see the
I guess
green.
unless you have
It's a
someone down there
blind-
watching.
It's a blind shot.
You just get there and your ball's there in the hole. All right.
But what I was going to say is that every guy who's driven that green will from then on will always try to hit driver.
Yeah.
But if you added up their scores over their entire career and what they shot there, they're going to probably average 6. Whereas if you laid up short, you'd probably average 4.5 to 5, somewhere in that range. It's a better strategy from a strategic way. It's better to play it that way.
Yeah. Then you ring the bell when you're done so people know they can try to drive the green again.
Yes, exactly. Yep.
Do you instruct people when they're the first time to Anaconda Hills? They have all these rules about ringing the bell and getting out of the way. Do you give tips on ways to do the holes, or you just give them the map and say best of luck?
Oh, we just have fun. Yeah. Now, as far as ringing the bell, most people. So when you come off of that green, you go to the next tee box. There's a bell there, and then with a sign, ring this. And most golfers just kind of naturally know what that's for.
Oh,
is to clear that.
No, we're not the only golf course in the world that has a bell.
No, I grew up on a course that is very similar to Anaconda, the front 9 there. So whenever I play, it always reminds me of the first course I ever played, and there was a hole there that had a bell. There was a course I grew up playing that had a periscope, and that's kind of common at some properties whenever it's a blind shot in the landing zone. And so you'll go and look through a periscope and see if the fairway's clear. They'll allow you to tee off.
That's a good idea.
Nowadays, you get some of those properties don't have the periscopes anymore. They actually have a TV screen there.
Oh my gosh,
and
really?
Cameras.
Wow.
Edgewood and Tahoe, where they host the celebrity tournament, I think they finally transitioned. They used to have a periscope on, I think, 15 the hole in the back 9.
That makes more sense because to me, I never know, like, am I waiting for the bell? Was there actually somebody, am I just waiting for nothing? So I feel like that's an easier way to see what's happening. I don't know.
If you don't hear the bell and you don't have a periscope and you
But
can
I'm
see
not
there,
in danger
I
of
always tell
driving the
people,
green.
yeah, I tell people just drive up there and make sure it's clear.
Yeah.
I would rather you take an extra couple minutes and do that than to put somebody's life at risk hitting into them.
Yeah, good call.
Your life is never at risk with me. You can always play ahead of me. Your life will never be at risk. Although the one time when it counted, I was able to, look like I knew what I was doing with golf. It was par 3, and I made it in 2. My husband looked at me like, "Who is this woman?" I'm like, "Yep, I'm that good." And he goes, "No, you're not."
You got lucky.
What's happened? Like, people were watching. I needed to look like I knew what I was doing.
Good job.
Yeah.
You stepped up to the plate when it counted.
So then I thought, well, maybe I'll start keeping score because I don't very rarely keep score.
Yeah.
And then by hole 3, I'm like, there's no need to keep score.
Like, just scratch that. One of my dreams is that we would have a par 3 course in town. I love par 3 courses.
Par 3 courses can be can be a lot of fun. I was at a property, an off-course retail shop in New Jersey for a while, and we had a par 3 course behind the driving range. Probably the best par 3 course I've ever played.
Yeah.
The greens were extremely sloped, very fast, very deep bunkers around the green, and the holes were between 90 yards and 120, I think. But when we were teaching junior golf, it was a great place to take the kids out there and learn how to play.
Yeah.
So I'm a huge fan of par 3 courses, especially for beginners. But even from advanced players, if the conditions are really good, it's a great way of really sharpening your skills, because that's where you score is within 100 yards. So we don't have, Hickory's an executive course here. It's all 3s and 4s. And it's considerably shorter than the other courses, but there's a lot of people that, well, one, the conditions there are phenomenal. The greens Billy has over there are just, amazing. But from a beginner standpoint, or even a senior player, it's a perfect venue for them. But we do have a par 3 tournament coming up that you and Jason should probably sign up for. So on Saturday
he didn't invite me. Did you notice? I just told him.
Bring Robert
on
along.
a par 3. I shot 2, and he's like, we're still not inviting him.
We will have beer specials that day.
Oh, he knows you so
There
well already.
we go.
So there's a little bit for everyone.
I can cheer.
Okay, yeah. What is this?
So at the Masters tournament, it comes up here in the beginning of April in Augusta. On Wednesday of Masters Week, they have a 9-hole par 3 course on the property.
Oh, okay.
Let's just be clear: the Masters doesn't happen here in Great Falls.
No, it does not happen here in
Sadly,
Great Falls.
no.
Okay.
It's in Augusta, Georgia. But anyways, it's tradition at the Masters that on Wednesday, all the players, they play the par 3 course, and usually they have family members or their kids caddy for them. And it's really cool whenever you see the kids that are like 4 years old wearing the white jumpsuit caddy, So what a lot of courses do, and we started this a couple years ago, is we will go out and set up all 18 holes on our course as par 3s.
Oh.
So we'll set up cones down the fairways, anywhere from 100 yards to 220 yards from the green. And the entire course, you just play it as a par 3 course.
Okay.
So that starts at 10 a.m. on Saturday, April 8th. And then afterwards, we all go into the bar. We watch the Masters. That's on the TV.
We'll come meet up with you.
Yeah. Have some food and some drinks, give out some prizes, some awards. But it's kind of a kickoff to the season. Last year, it was extremely cold.
I was going to say this could be the
weather was not
here.
good.
Yeah.
Yeah, here in Montana in April, it's hard
Hit
to
or
say
miss.
what you're going to get. Be prepared.
Dress in layers, as Jerry always says. Yeah. Layer like an onion.
Golf is an outdoor sport.
Yes.
Yep.
I remember so I played golf in high school. Again, not well, but I was on the golf team. And we came in Havre, and we played at Eagle Falls for a tournament once. And I remember it was snowing, cold, March or April, because at that time it was a spring sport. I remember hitting at the club, and it was so cold, it just like reverberated in my hands, and it hurt. I think they canceled it after like 4 or 5 holes. But
my first year up here
cold.
in 2019, they had Montana State, I think Class B tournament was over at Meadowlark that year. We're hosting it over at Eagle Falls now whenever it's in town, but that year was at Meadowlark, and it was in September, and I was tapped to be a rules official, so I was out on the property and kind of roaming around the 2 days of the tournament. And on the second day, when we had, I think, 3 holes left, snowstorm came in. In a very short period of time, we accumulated, about 1 inch of snow on the course.
Wow.
And we must have only had like 2 holes left, but they were able to finish. It made national news. Pictures of these kids out there putting in the snow, trying to clear snow out of the way to putt. It was crazy, and that was September. That's September, Montana. You'll have that.
There's always the gamble of that. Yeah.
So when you host tournaments at the golf course, do you close it down for other people? Like a tournament is happening and I can't show up and play, or can I?
So it depends on the size of the tournament.
Oh, okay.
If a group comes to us, if a charity organization comes to us and says, hey, we want to host a fundraising golf tournament there, if they have 100 players, 90 to 100 players or more, we'll completely close the golf course and make it available just for them for that day. But if you have a group of, say, 36 players, we do what's called a modified shotgun. Just depend. Everybody will still start at the same time, but this way we organize what holes you're going to start on.
Oh.
But that allows us to get that group out on the course and then open it up for public play.
Okay.
So you'll be able to make a tee time and still come out and play. Now, if we do close, if the course is closed for the day, one thing we do is we will never close both courses on the same day.
So you can go to the other one.
The other one is always open. And then as far as our pass holders, which our passes just went on sale 2 weeks ago, and they go from April through the end of March. What we do is that if one course is closed for an outing, we'll honor your pass at the other property.
Oh, that's nice.
So as a pass holder, you always have an option to play. And there's pros and cons to that. Some guys, like I said, don't like to play the other course, but they have that option.
Yeah.
And then the third option that we always have is my company actually manages Old Works down in Anaconda.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
One of the top 2 or 3 courses
It's
in
a
the
Jack
state.
Jack Nicklaus course.
Yeah.
I don't know what that means either, but
So Jack Nicklaus is
signature
one of
course.
the all-time great golfers.
I know.
Yeah.
I did know who he was.
Yeah.
I just want our listeners to know, I did know who he
Yeah.
was. I don't know what it means when,
So-
he showed up and designed the course. I
So
doubt that.
Jack and his team designed that
Yep.
course.
That's correct.
Yeah.
Yeah. You got it.
I thought maybe he just showed up and he's like, "This is a fine course."
Check.
Broke the champagne bottle on the
he
tee
kind
box.
of he kind of does that.
Okay.
So his team they come in and they design properties, and then the traditional first round. And I don't know if Jack still does it because he's in his 80s now. But back in the day, the official first round of golf ever played on any of his courses was Jack.
Oh.
He would go out, and all the members or the local community would come out and follow him, and he would play 18 holes and tell stories. And that was always the kickoff to it. And the famous story with Jack designing courses is he gets to the 18th green one time, and he's got a 40-foot putt for birdie. And he's talking to there's a crowd of 50 people around because it's Jack Nicklaus. Of course you want to watch him play. Mm-hmm. So he's telling stories the whole time. He gets to that green. He's got a 40 or 50-foot putt, and he's telling the story. He says, every course I've ever opened, and he's designed, I don't know, a couple, maybe 200 courses now. It's hard to say. He says, I've birdied the 18th hole of every course I've ever opened.
Oh my gosh, no pressure.
And everybody's
Holy cow.
and he goes, this is a long putt. I don't know. I might break that streak.
Oh my gosh.
So he gets over the ball and he's getting ready to putt. And as he's starting to take the putter back, his caddy yells at him, "Pick it up, Jack. That's good for birdie." He's like,
Aw.
"Works for me." Picks it up and walks off the green. Everybody laughs because it's kind of funny because you didn't see it coming.
Yeah.
But that was Jack's thing. We'd always do on that.
So that's how he birdies all the holes.
So I have another question about tournaments and the ability to be a spectator. Do you put up the ropes? You get to stand around like you see on TV and some guy holds a paddle to be quiet and you get to watch people play tournament, or is that just on the movies or on TV?
On PGA Tour events or
No, I'm talking here in Great Falls because I'm assuming we've never had a PGA tournament.
No, we haven't had
yeah,
that.
so but the Montana,
The one in September.
there we go. Can you be a spectator and there's
So
ropes and
we-
you get to watch or not?
We don't have ropes because those ropes are for crowd control, and we don't have that
Crowds?
many people. We don't have crowds.
Well, you're going to need one for Rebecca now.
We'll give you a rope when you go out there. How's
You
that?
can just
I'll
hold
You
it
can
in
just
front of
hold
you.
it in front of you. That actually would be hysterical to see.
Yeah.
I'm your gal. I'm my rope.
You and Robert just
I'm
stand
just stand there. And then I'll hold the paddle too if you want.
Yeah, you need multiple
Quiet.
hands for that.
So the Great Falls Open, so we don't have the crowds yet. I have a long-term plan and vision for that tournament because that's something my staff created and something that we take a lot of pride in, and it's growing every year. And so it's 18 holes at Anaconda on Saturday and then 18 holes at Eagle Falls on Sunday.
Ooh.
So you get to play both courses, and it's stroke play tournament. It's the only individual stroke play tournament open to everybody here in the area. All the other events that you typically have, especially your charity events or a team event, 4-man scramble and stuff, The second biggest event that we do is the Montana State Two-Man, which is run at Eagle Falls by the Eagle Falls Men's Golf Association. That's turned into a very large event. So it's the first full weekend in August, and it's a two-man team best ball. So if you two were playing and you went out and you made a 4, Shannon made a 4, and you made a 5, your team score would be 4.
Oh.
And then on next hole, which is a par 3, if you make your 2, and
Yeah.
Shannon made 7, your team score would be a 2.
That's
So
exciting.
that's best ball. People confuse scramble and best ball. They're totally different formats. But anyways, the Montana State two-man is obviously a two-man best ball tournament. We do a practice round on Friday. The tournament is Saturday and Sunday. We have a straight tee format on Saturday. You pick your tee time. You get to go out and play. After golf on Saturday at 5 o'clock, when we're figuring out the pairings for Sunday, because we flight everybody pair everybody based on your scores, and we do a shotgun Sunday morning. We figure all that out. But what we do on Saturday night is I bring a live band. We got tables and tents. We do a steak dinner.
Fun.
We have games and contests, and every year that's growing. And it's a lot of fun. Then we go out and we play Sunday. It's a 9 a.m. shotgun. And then afterwards, we do a derby, which is, if you've never been a part of a derby, it's kind of an experience to see. You have, we take 20 teams of 2, and you play alternate shot, which is you would hit a ball and then I would hit it until it's holed out. So you got 20 teams, means you have 40 players, and then some spectators, but we're all playing the same hole at the same time.
Oh, does anyone get hurt?
No, Shannon, they're professionals.
It's extremely safe.
I'd be so worried about hitting someone.
You have to pay attention in that format.
But it sounds like super fun to watch.
It's a fun time. And then we eliminate a couple teams every hole.
Okay.
So coming down the last hole is like 3 or 4 teams.
Okay.
And every year we do a little bit differently, or the men's club does that a little bit differently.
Does the speed in which you complete the hole matter?
No.
Okay, that seems good. That would be more
It
chaotic.
takes about a little over 2 hours to go through the process of closing that out.
Do you wait for the other people to hit, or are you all hitting at once? Because I just imagine everybody's hitting at once and trying to be as fast as they can.
When everybody is teeing off, we'll go individually.
Okay.
But once
you've dispersed down the fairway.
Once everybody has gone down the fairway, the rule is as long as nobody's in front of you, go ahead and
go for it.
and play.
Put your initials on your ball so you know
Yeah,
which
right.
one's yours.
Well, we number all the balls, and then we assign that to a team,
There you
That's
go.
helpful.
and you play from there. And it's the derbies. We do a couple of those a year, and the derby during the two-man is just a ton of fun. But that tournament there is growing. I think last year we had 130 some players.
Oh, wow.
Nice.
We'll probably be right around that 150 mark.
Fun.
I've got guys from our corporate office, or actually they come up and play in it because it's a fun event.
Yeah, it sounds like it. That would also be a good
Excited-
spectator one.
Excited
Yeah.
for
Be
my
able to have
rope
your
to
rope.
go be a spectator.
Yes, perfect. Can you rent clubs at
Yes.
your courses?
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah, we do have rental clubs. They're $15 for the set. They're Tour Edge, which is a brand. So they're not super high end, but they're very functional. They're good clubs. But we actually get a lot of people that come to Great Falls and visit, and they don't have clubs. So yeah, we have those available for you. We have plenty of sets. It's very common for us to have 10, 15 sets of rentals out on the course at any given
Okay.
time.
Yeah,
Oh.
so you have quite a few.
We get a lot of a lot of visitors.
Yeah.
We'll play.
What about cart rental? Or do you have enough carts for people to rent? Spectators, can they rent a cart?
So a couple things to
Just
that.
gone. I knew that was where we were headed.
So a couple things we do have our own fleet of carts that you can rent.
Okay.
There are times where, because of demand, we might be out of a cart, and you might have a short wait until we bring it in, which is pretty common at public courses. You could always use more carts, but we do have them available for you if you wanted to. We also have these tempo walks, which is almost like a robotic caddy. So there's these little 3-wheeled vehicles. You put your clubs in those, and you wear a transponder on your belt, and you walk down a fairway, and,
Oh my
and
gosh,
this
does
thing
it
will
follow you?
it will follow you down there, and it has a cooler on it for drinks. They're actually
That sounds cool, but kind of terrifying
Gonna
to
have
just
to
look
borrow-
across the green or look across the way, and you just
That's what I'm gonna
So-
need for my rope. Like my
Yeah,
my
you need
caddy
a
will be
caddy
on one
for your
end,
rope.
so I
Yeah.
can hold up my sign that says "quiet."
perfect.
I'm gonna be a one-man spectator
you are.
show.
Oh, that's great.
The golfers will be excited. I'm there. They'll be
So-
like, "Oh," because when they do
It's our
good, I will
super
clap.
fan. Yeah. So do you
That
have-
is what I need because,
Yeah,
as I
it
was telling
is.
Shannon earlier, like I don't hit it far enough to really require a cart. Yet my husband insists on renting one all the time, and then just drives beside me while I walk to my ball. This is really
Well, he's
pointless.
comfortable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you can rent those things too?
Yeah,
Oh, I didn't know that.
yeah. We have 4 at each property that
Okay.
you can take out.
That's pretty exciting.
Other
Yeah.
than actually having a caddy, it's probably one of the greatest walks I've ever had in golf.
Yeah.
I really enjoy taking those out because you're walking down a fairway with one club in your hand.
Yeah, I like that part. So my dad, again, I grew up in like a golf family, and my dad was adamant about walking the course. And so growing up, we never rented a cart. My husband now insists that's the only way to do it is with a cart, and it does make it like nicer. But the idea of walking, because you get good exercise in, but not having to haul the bag around and off and on and off and on. I could do that. I like that.
Yeah,
I think he
you
would have
should-
liked that too.
You
Yeah.
guys should try that.
Yeah.
Because it's I've used them a bunch of times, and I absolutely love those because. So you walk down a fairway with a drink in your hand, and you're out for a walk.
Yeah,
Like I said,
you're right.
you're not pushing a cart, you're not carrying your clubs on your
Right.
shoulders, so physically it doesn't have that toll on you.
Right. And that's the part I
Yeah.
wasn't as big a fan of about walking as the
Yeah, because
Thing.
we all grew up with there weren't a lot of push carts whenever I grew up.
yeah.
It was all throw the bag over the shoulder, and
Right.
when the dual strap came out, it was like a backpack.
that was a huge
that was huge.
Yeah.
It was way more comfortable. And I grew up playing courses in Western Pennsylvania, or there's not a flat lie. It's very much like Anaconda. So but we walk those every day.
Yeah.
But yeah, carts are nice. But from a player standpoint, I think walking it's a better experience.
That's
Yeah.
what the pros do. You don't
That's
see
true.
them on a cart ever.
That's very true.
And they're walking long distances between their little putts.
Yeah. Gotta stay in shape. So I've heard that there, especially over in Anaconda, there's been bobcats spotted over there before. You get wildlife. What's the oddest animal you've encountered on one of the courses? Or what kind of animals have you encountered
So
on the
we
course?
a couple years ago we had a moose that took up residence for the wintertime on Anaconda. And we got some really cool pictures
Yeah.
of him hanging out. He was pretty young bull, but still was a bull. At Anaconda, we have we did have a nesting pair of bald eagles
Oh, cool.
over on number 6, but they weren't around last year, so we're a little concerned if it was avian flu, which is really going through the community.
Yeah.
Some conversations I had with Fish and Wildlife that they feel that could be what affected them.
That's too bad.
But having bald eagles on the course, we had a golden eagle that actually took that nest over one year, and then he left, and then the bald eagles came back, and they it was, 2 summers ago they had a whole little family, so it was kind of cool seeing the little babies up there. Apparently, they do not like to eat rock chucks
Oh,
because
that would be helpful if they did.
it would, because one day I'm sitting up there and I'm watching you can see the eagles in the nest, and there's 30 on the ground right underneath the tree is like 30 rock chucks. I'm like, guys,
I would think that'd be perfect prey for them.
like you don't have to go far. Dinner's right there. We had badger 2 years ago. We had a badger over at Eagle Falls.
Yeah.
That took up residence out on the driving range.
That's helpful.
Yeah.
So yeah, I get we've hawks and other things.
Yeah.
A lot of rock chucks. Both courses have the amount of deer at Anaconda. If people could go over there in the
Urban deer.
Yeah.
in the wintertime and see how many deer are there, really probably around 150
Wow.
that hang out on the driving range. Or at Eagle, we have. Geez, it's growing every year. I the other day I was having this conversation with somebody. I said, I think we got like 30. And then it was like 2 days later, I watched 35 walk across the bridge on 18 coming up the cart path.
Yeah.
And I look down number 1 and there's another 20 going there. And
Oh
I
my
look out
gosh.
the driving range, there's another couple. So we're right around 60 or so that have taken up residence on the golf course.
Wow.
So yeah, there's a ton of wildlife on
Yeah.
both. It's kind of cool.
I've heard the golf course open during the winter
Oh,
on
yeah.
sometimes, and then you got to play it backwards.
Yeah.
Does that is that real or did I make
Is
it
that
up?
a thing?
So
I was like, I've heard that too. I think.
so the course years ago, yeah, they would play the course backwards. I'm not sure why. In all honesty,
Green
I
maintenance.
don't.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's part of that. I mean, I kind of understand from an operator standpoint, but so we completely close Anaconda for the winter.
Okay.
Usually from mid to late October to roughly beginning of April. We're trying for April 1 this year. I don't know if it's going to happen. There's a lot of work to do to get that ready. But Eagle Falls, we keep that open year round, weather permitting. So if there's
and that's the one with the tap house.
that's the one with the
yeah,
tap
room.
house. Yeah.
There we go.
We have 6 beers on tap. You can come on over. A couple microbrews.
Beautiful
We change it up.
experience there.
It's pretty good food. So, but yeah, we'll keep that course open year round, weather permitting. This winter here, we didn't have a lot of golf because we've been snow covered.
Yeah.
Even today, where it's supposed to be 52, 53
Yeah.
degrees, gorgeous weather for golf. But if you could see how much snow I have on some greens and some of the drifts out there,
A little
you know,
soggy still.
some places the snow's still 2 feet deep.
Wow.
Other places it's only a couple inches, but it's ice. And other places where it's melted off, it's a mud pit.
Yeah.
So this year wasn't a good year for winter golf, but in the past, you know, we've been able to play golf every month of the year.
Yeah.
We don't play the course backwards. We do play it from tee to green. We put we have 3 different holes in every green, so we can move the flags, and it cuts down on wear and tear on the turf. And at this time of the year, because the ground's frozen, you can't cut new cups every day. So we have 3 out there, and you just rotate the flag from one to the next as you come through. And we use the tee boxes we put out there. We put in areas that we usually don't use in the summertime, and to protect those areas from any damage and wear and tear, because it does take a toll. This time of year, the grass isn't growing; it's not going to rejuvenate itself. So any damage you cause is
Kind of permanent.
there for a while
Yeah.
until you get into June. And so we do things like that, but we definitely encourage people to come out and play. And there's days where you can play, but it's walking only, which will probably be the case for the next 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And I know there's a lot of guys who have to take a cart, and unfortunately, they just wouldn't be able to in those times. But it's very, very wet. All the properties here in town are all in the same boat of it's
Very
wet.
moist.
Yeah.
Yes.
I realize some people don't like that word, and that's why I chose it.
Yeah, I could see it in your eyes.
I had a feeling that's why she said that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it gets near the end. People have to have some emotion that just really gets
To make them
over
turn
that.
it off.
Goodness gracious. Well, I've certainly learned a lot about golf.
Mm-hmm.
That
See, this was way long. You thought it would be so short and sweet.
well, if I had to talk about golf, it'd be 10 minutes.
Yeah.
When you
This is
have
why
to
we
teach
have an
someone
expert.
about golf,
takes
who
longer.
knows nothing, it makes for a longer episode. That's
Yeah.
for sure.
I can tell stories for hours.
Mm-hmm.
I've seen some pretty cool things on property, and even my girlfriend will look at me now and just shake her head, and she's like, "Wait, you did what?"
Yeah.
I've caddied in the celebrity tournament that's on NBC every year in Lake Tahoe. I've caddied in that 8 different years.
Wow.
So I've been around a lot of the celebs and
Are you allowed to
great
say
stories.
who you've caddied for?
Yeah.
Ooh.
Okay.
He's
there,
not gonna.
no, I won't. I think probably the coolest person I caddied for was probably Jerry Rice.
Oh wow.
Oh.
Yeah.
He's a phenomenal individual.
Mm.
Growing up as a Steelers fan, I was never a fan of the Niners.
Yeah.
But I always appreciated Jerry. And after spending a day with him, a huge respect for the guy. As far as the quality of a human being, he's phenomenal. There are two celebrities that I won't say who they are. One in particular, I won't say who he is, but his catchphrase is "Get her done." Let's kind of go with that. Still owes me $50.
Okay.
Not a fan
Putting
of
that out into the world.
not a fan of his.
Okay.
Yeah, he's
Fair.
not
Yeah.
interesting individual. But yeah, so I'll tell stories like that. My girlfriend looks at me and she's like, "What?" And,
Yeah.
and then she always gets annoyed because when we're watching golf, I'll be like, "Yeah, I remember whenever I played that hole." And she's like, "Wait, what?" I'm like, "Yeah, I played that course."
Yeah.
You know, so I've been able to do some things like that, and yeah, it's kind of
Pretty fun.
kind of a crazy experience.
Do you have a Masters prediction? Who you think is going to win or be up there?
Do you even know who's in the Masters?
I mean, some. I don't know the full
Yeah.
field, but yeah.
I think
But yes. Or a counter.
I'll
well,
just
no,
sit
I
here
have
and be a spectator.
hold your rope.
That's a hard one to
Yeah.
answer. Scotty Scheffler who won last year. I mean, is playing really good golf right now. John Rahm's was playing really well. He was very hot for a little bit, and he's kind of cooled off. So I don't know if that course fits Rahm's game. I honestly, right now, if I had to pick a couple golfers, I would say Rory is probably my favorite to win it this year.
I'm a Rory fan.
Now, Rory, he needs to win the Masters because then that's the final leg of the Grand Slam.
Yeah.
And there's only been 6 people who've ever done that.
Which is really impressive.
And Rory's been in contention and has blown up. But I kind of
recent
feel
years,
this
too,
year,
yeah.
You know, the first time he was in that position to win, he had a couple shot lead going into the back. So the back nine at Augusta on Sunday is when the fun starts.
They've played 2.5 weeks long, and this back nine on one day. That's it. That's when it starts and ends.
Historically, it has happened so many times where guys have had the lead after 9 holes and they go on to number 10, and then the final 9 holes of the tournament they've blown up. It's the back 9 on Sunday at Augusta is my favorite time of year. I usually take Sunday off from work.
Yeah.
I usually find a nice quiet bar and I sit there and I watch that. But Rory, that one year, I mean, he had a couple stroke lead. He gets a number 10 and he hits a snap hook, and the camera crews are panning over to where it's at, and even the announcers are like, "We've never seen a ball that far left." He was out of bounds, and it's like the first time. There's cabins over there. It's the first time those cabins were ever on TV.
Wow,
because
that's crazy.
Players never hit a ball over there.
Wow,
that's why they don't let me on that course.
Yeah, I would say
many
Rory's
reasons.
got a shot. I would say Xander Schauffele, I think, has a good shot. If it's a dark horse, I can't discount Xander from doing that. I don't know, Scotty Scheffler. He's a hard one to say. I mean, he wins it last year, and he's number 1 player in the world right now. But the difference between him, Rory, and Rahm, I mean, they're so close as far as being the top players. But it's going to be a fun tournament.
Yeah.
Always
It
is.
always is.
Yeah.
It's always emotional, those last final 9 too. And
it's fun. You know, I mean, you go back a couple years ago whenever Tiger wins it, you know, watching him, you know, he was a couple shots out of it going into 12 and watching everybody just hit balls into the water. And I'm sitting there watching them going, everybody in the world knows you don't go at the flag on Sunday. And on 12, you hit it to the middle of the green and 2-putt and get out of there. And I'm watching all these guys all go at the flag. They're all going into the water. And Tiger gets up, and I was in a shop, and I was in Louisiana. This was, 2018 or 19, whenever he won that last one. And I said to one girl who was in a shop, I'm like, Tiger's hitting this to the middle of the green. He's won it 4 times. He knows where to play.
He knows what to do, yeah.
And that's how he ends up winning it the 5th time. The back 9. Augusta is – I think Augusta is probably one of the coolest tournaments out there because – it's the only course, or it's the only tournament that's played at the same course every year. So from a spectator standpoint, you you know the layout of the course, and,
Don't need
you
the
can
cart.
kind of anticipate it. Yeah, there's no carts. You're not going to hit any carts. It's Augusta's a very unique property. There's a lot of stories of what they do down there. They do a phenomenal job.
Yeah. It'd be neat to experience that sometime.
Yeah. U.S. Opens. I've been to a couple. They're really, really cool events. The Phoenix Open is a totally different animal, which is fun to go to. Professional tournaments, even on the Champions Tour. Champions Tour, there's some good golf to be played, but it's more of an exhibition. I mean, the guys can still play, but you can have carts on the Champions Tour.
Nice.
But regular PGA Tour events and LPGA events, man, the quality of golf on the LPGA right now is phenomenal. They are so good with their long irons. It's impressive. There was a stat I saw the other day. I can't remember who the player was, but from 180 yards in, she was light years more accurate than any guy on the PGA Tour.
That's what I like to hear. Yeah. That's fantastic.
Well, this has been fun. We encourage you to come to Great Falls anytime, play golf. We know golfers just love
Rebecca
to go
will come and be a spectator
if you
for
want to rent me as a spectator, I will cheer for you with my own rope and my assistant
robotic caddy.
Yeah, because I'm going to have to
It's a
hold
good side hustle for you.
Yeah, just stop into the office. I'm your gal. You get so much service when you play in Great Falls.
Personal cheering squad.
Just saying, oh goodness, Ingham's back on the course.
Yeah.
No, I think it's awesome. We're going to start offering that service.
Yeah, just I'll be prepared.
Rent a Spectator.
Yeah.
New program.
So clearly, if you have questions about our courses and want to come plan a trip, call me, 406-761-4436. And I'll give you all the information of how to get a hold of Jeff and his team over at Anaconda and Eagle Falls. They're beautiful courses. I've driven Anaconda a number of times for photo and video shoots.
Yeah.
I'm not the golfer in those photos or videos.
Not yet. Could be.
No, I'll be the spectator, Shannon.
Yes, yeah, right,
again.
right.
That's really my best role when it comes to professionalism. So, folks, hope you've had fun. We had a blast. Maybe Jeff not as much as us, but
This has been very entertaining.
it's a good way to spend
More
your
than he
day.
bargained for.
Steve's been here, so he knows. He's like, Jeff will do fine.
Throw him to the wolves here.
So until we see your bright, smiley, happy, healthy face here in Great Falls, we hope you are creating amazing memories with your friends and family wherever you might be. We'll see you soon.
We're No Dam Experts is the recorded claims from Great Falls, Montana, covering what you need to know about this amazing damn town.